by Rob and Dave, a podcast dedicated to all things Horus Heresy in the Northwest region of America. Please stay tuned for the next transmission.
Hey everyone, it's Rob.
And this is Dave.
We're back again. It's been 3 weeks, and we're really sorry, sort of. Not quite.
Actually, we're not at all, to be honest, because we're doing 2 episodes a month at this point. So this is our second episode. April happens to have 5 weekends. We had to stretch it out a wee bit.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, until people start either sending us money or we get sponsored by a really big brand name. Shit. And until that starts, we kind of have a budget amount that we pay for data service. So for those of you who thought that we were bi-weekly, we're more or less bi-monthly, and that's what we're sticking to. So here's your second episode for April. Second, yes. I can count. Math is good. Yes.
Yep. And for those who decided it's an Easter holiday that we're recording on, Rob and I have had a little bit streak. Rob went to a barbecue. Me, I'm just having mojitos because it happened to be a beautiful day, and I like mojitos on a sunny day. So
I've just been drinking Bloody Marys and beer all day because I'm a royal piece of shit, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say royal. Anyway.
Oh, low blow.
Yeah.
So what do you?
So hopefully, go ahead.
No, we walked over each other. See, this is why we can never be professional. We can't even coordinate our speech.
You know what's funny though, and people will say, "Well, it's because you guys are in different areas and not in the same studio." No, we talk over each other anyway. So you are seeing Rob and Dave live.
Yeah,
this is the way it rolls.
Vegas was worse, to be honest. We were in the same room, and we couldn't even finish what the other one was doing across the table because we walked over each other. It's just the way it works. Yep.
So, anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about hobby progress tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about some events. Rob had a really awesome event up in Alaska.
Artis Trident! It's the Trident! Yeah, that was cool. Sorry.
So, that's all right. And I got one coming up on April 29th at Games and Gizmos. We'll talk a little bit about that, and I'll read some fluff.
Tides of Corruption!
Yes.
Corruption!
So, and I did get a question. When exactly is the year that my event takes place? My response to that was 2017. However, the person didn't find that very funny, and so I told them I don't follow the Horus Heresy timeline on my events, so it keeps it open for anybody who can play whatever they wish. So, if that pops up, there's your answer all.
So...
You like that?
Yeah, no, I do. It's just like the timeline thing. It's like, unless you're trying to reenact a major conflict, you have to understand that the Horus Heresy was so vast. And the heresy itself, we haven't gotten a definitive actual year mark. In some references, it's 2 years. Others, it's 5 to 10. So we don't know exactly.
And I've heard longer than that.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know exactly the length from Isfan 3 to Terra. And I know when we post this episode that some people are going to come back and be like, "Oh no, they said this on this date. It's been confirmed." Yeah. Who did? Games Workshop or Forge World or Black Library? Because they all have their own ideas of how long the Horus Heresy took. So don't even pull that one because they all have different ideas. And even in Black Library, they contradict themselves in at least 4 different books. So timeline doesn't really matter. Legions were huge. They hated the right ones, and they fought.
And I will allow Ferrus Manus to play on any battlefield because he lost his head on Esteban 5 doesn't mean he can't play again. So anybody who wishes to bring him, please do, because I actually have never seen the model live, except, well, that's not true, in a display case because nobody plays them.
Well, okay, I'll give you a fluff reason. Let's just say that company of the chapter was so remorseful that Ferrus died that they took a Castellax automata and they resculpted to look like Ferris Manus. There you go. Perfect. Awesome. Moving on.
Now you can use Ferris.
Perfect.
Hobby progress.
Yeah, the hobbying part. So let's see. What did I work on? What did I do? So since the last time we recorded, I did 9 assault marines for my Raven Guard, with some like sergeants, with like Raven talons and power fists, basically so I could fill out my compulsory troops, so I could run Angel's Wrath, Vanguard Assault, or Decapitation Strike using assault marines as troops. And I'll get into that later. I also got my fast track rapier turrets finished. I know I talked about them before about getting them done, but I didn't get the spotters done, so I got those finished. And then I also got my last 5 recon marines that I kit bashed from the sniper rifles from the Mordathan and some Betrayal Calth marines to make power armored recon marines, so I can then start running recon company. And I know that the rules are kind of convoluted on whether your 3rd compulsory troop has to be a recon marine squad, or if all 3 compulsory troops need to be recon marine squads. So I just made 3 5-mans just so I had it either or.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got those done. A couple weeks ago, I got a good batch of salamanders painted or base coated. Basically sergeants with different loadouts, because I'm starting to find out that I don't like my sergeants being close combat-y, because if we get in close combat, we're in bad shape. So I made sergeants with combi flamers, combi meltas, and inferno pistols, so I had some variety. Made some more with multi meltas for my orbital assault list. And then I've got a Primus Medicae for the Blood Angels that I'm painting for John Miller here in Alaska. And I got a Horus Lupercal scrubbed, cleaned, trimmed, and ready for primer for David Eaton and his Sons of Horus, that I got commissioned from him. And beyond that, I've got a model for Katie's Necks, the special Moritat for my Raven Guard. I'm actually using the Cypher model, the new one.
Okay.
And his bolt pistol that is holstered, I trimmed off the bullets, the bullet belt that was hanging off of him, and I trimmed off a Tigress pattern bolt pistol, and I put the clip that I trimmed off of it into that holster. And then I took his other hand that had the plasma pistol, and I cut that off. And I've actually did a kit bash between a Tigress bolt pistol and the Mark IV Inferno pistol, and put them together to make it look like a Fulcrum hand cannon. It just looks like a beefed up bolt pistol. I really, really, really wanted to use the Anvil Industries revolver pistol for the Fulcrum hand cannons, but when I looked at the profile of the pistol that's holstered on the Cypher model, it just wouldn't jive very well. So I decided to make a beefier, a more elongated bolt pistol version to match that one that he has holstered. So it kind of creates some cohesion in the model itself. But I should have pictures of him up here in probably about 3 weeks. My painting's been really lagged, so I'm going to focus on getting this Primus Medicae and this Horus model done, and then I'll work on him. But I'll post up pictures on our page when he's done.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, just a standout character. What have you been working on, dude?
Well, we had a Zone Mortalis get together with a couple of guys down here, and so I was getting my sisters put together. So you've seen it. I've posted a few pictures. Northwest 30K Legions United, the 70 of them that I just have the bodies on. Needless to say, so any of those who are deciding to build Sisters of Silence will realize that we have no close combat weapons. We have no bolt pistols. And so that being said, you have to basically modify. And I made 10 Oblivion Knights, and they turned out, I find quite, I really like the paint scheme that I chose. They're not as good on pictures, But I'll post some pictures of those here before long. I did some on my phone, but it's really blurry. But I was doing my Cyber Jackal unit, and I couldn't do the offhanded weapon because I couldn't find weapons that looked normal in their hands. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that. But I've been working on my Sisters of Silence still. I haven't worked on this last week. I've got a Fire Raptor to pop together for a guy here.
I'll plug it. I'll plug in real quick on your camera on your phone.
Yeah.
I found that taking pictures to make a better photo quality, if you take a microfiber cloth and wipe off the camera lens first, and then you take a white piece of like printer paper and put it behind the phone, and then take your photo, it helps retract some of the light coming from behind your head that creates that false shadow on the model.
Yeah, and I need to do that. I also may buy that Table War photograph mats.
Yeah, I need one of those too. Actually,
they have them at MOB Games for $75, and I'll tell you, it's an amazing setup. I've just been lazy and not picked one up. Think I'm gonna have to.
Okay, get me one, thanks.
Yeah, no problem, buddy. It's on its way.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna laugh about that a little bit, but so the Sisters of Silence models, you got 5 models, so they all basically you got 5 poses, 5 different sisters.
Right.
It's all cool until you have 80 of them, and I actually have 95 sisters now. I don't need any more. Thank you, everybody.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So I'm putting them together. I'm like, so how do you make them look different? Because the poses are the same, and basically, if you do it the way the numbers say, which most of us do because the hobby is the way it is, they would all be holding this sword 2 hands and up over their shoulder, which is fine and dandy for a few of them. I can't do that. I had to make it look different. So I started pirating pieces off other sprues, and so I made my sisters look a little different, but their poses are the same. But if you change the arms and how the sword is being held and how their head is positioned, even though their legs are static, it changes the model enough to where it draws away from that. So I'm finding, so those who are building even just basic Marines, you'll find that just a few little differences on the arms or whatnot make a huge difference in the aesthetics of the army.
Awesome.
But I spent all day Friday and half of Saturday getting models ready for this Zone Mortalis game. I didn't even get enough done, so I wound up using Night Lords as quote unquote proxies for a Bolter sister unit because they're that different. And so
that's not fluffy accurate. Disqualified.
I know, right? So I'm warning any of you guys who are building the sisters armies. It's awesome. And the moment you start, you'll realize you're in for some work because, for one, I actually use the Games Workshop Sisters of Silence models. I don't do any of the conversions from the Harlequin models I've seen.
Right.
I think they kind of looks goofy, but I get why people do it. I'm not putting you down, so don't think that I am if you guys decide to do that. But when it comes to offhanded weapons and making them look like they're from the Imperium, so that really limits you on stuff. So I'm having to really do some searching on possibly using the Imperial Guard offhanded weapons, which they don't have many of, and stuff like that. So it's becoming more of a challenge than I anticipated. I'm liking it because it is a challenge. But now my creative side's like, well, crap, what do you do for this? The bolt pistols were easy. You just cut off the hand for the bolter and tack it on. It looks fine. I take that back. Don't take the hand off. You have to cut the bolt pistol from the bolter to the sister's hold and make it match and green stuff it. I'll post pictures. People will understand what I'm talking about at that point. It's actually became quite complicated.
Okay.
So I was thinking, I'm like, I don't have anything to talk about hobby progress. That's a load of crap. I've got so many sisters put together, and fortunately for me, Ford World has not actually released the carrier yet. which I've been kind of irritated at, but I'm happy that she didn't. So
I want to say I'm sympathetic, but they released my Psy robot, so fuck you.
Yeah, I
got my
just
shit.
laughed. And it's like they got some amazing models coming out, and I'm like, why am I not getting my transports? Well, now that I bought the event only custode model, so I'm going to be actually adding. I am going to have 6 custodes in my Sisters of Silence army to handle a Primarch as needed or a monstrous creature. Because Sisters, after we'll get a little bit more into it, into the Zone Mortalis, I found the Oblivion Knights are amazing. The basic Sisters die. They're just as bad as Guardsmen.
I was gonna ask, like, what was the reason for putting the custodes in?
Mainly to deal with like a Primarch or a name. Like I went up against Edelon,
right,
and he just slaughtered my Cyber Jackals unit. I mean, that's 12 models, and they're fearless, which is awesome for the Sisters. Is that they're fearless? They don't run away. I tied him up for 3 rounds, but he just slaughtered everything. You double them out,
right?
Because they're only toughness 3, and the Cyber Jackals are only toughness 4. So if you're hitting with anything, a Power Fist or a Paragon Blade or anything like that has an AP2, they're gonna die. So
Gotcha.
So I'm learning. They're more of. I really enjoy the aesthetics of them, but I'm learning they're much more finesse than even the Imperial Guard, because the Imperial Guard at least has artillery and they can hide behind the gun lines. Sisters are not designed for that.
Well, that in the Imperial Militia, you can go those provinces where basically the Grenadier squads are 3-up armor with a toughness of 4 and have rifles that fire out 30 inches.
Yep.
I mean, you got that too.
You can't give Sisters of Silence the grenade launchers instead of flamers and stuff like that. So I mean, there are options, a lot of options.
Yeah, but okay. So I'll play devil's advocate in this. How much does it cost to have a 5-sister or a 10-man sister squad with grenade launchers? Like off the top of your head, do you know what that is?
I think like $185.
Okay, for
not bad.
For Grenadiers to do that with those 2 provinces, it's 180, and that's with 2 plasma guns in the squad, and all of them have 30-inch las rifles, firing up BS4. But I think Sisters are BS4 too, so it's kind of relevant. But yeah, it's still a +1 toughness, but we're leadership 7 and not fearless. So there's kind of like a check and balance on that.
Yeah, and it works, but I mean, like you got to look at the fluffy standpoint of what the Sisters stand for. You wouldn't see Sisters going up against, let's say, the Sons of Horus. Yeah. There's no point. They would never have been sent into that combat because that's not what they're meant for. So I expect to lose when I face something like that. But going up against Word Bearers or 1,000 Suns, they're actually very effective.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah. Hi. So, what's your army good at? Oh, psyker abilities. Well, that sucks.
Thank you. Not only are you a preferred enemy, but I hate you and I'm fearless. I'm not going to go anywhere either. And like I said, the Oblivion Knights are amazing. The named character Jolita, whatever the hell her name is, holy crap!
Let's just start calling her
badass.
Let's just start calling her Gelato.
Well, it's Janita. Janita Croy.
I like Gelato better because it tastes good.
I like gelato too. I can actually pronounce that. And most people who are listening to this realize I don't speak English very well. So if your name is anything abstract, I'm going to apologize because I will butcher it. So, but I actually made my own custom models for that. I bought the Gray Fox. So basically the one with Saint Celestine in it.
Yeah, Gray Fox.
It got rid of everything else, but I kept that one Gray Fox, the Witch Hunter model, and I've used that. I made myself a named character of my own. It's Moira the Red Huntress. I'm gonna run her with the Cyber Jackal unit, and then I've got that named character out of the book, Gelato. People are gonna hate us, and
no, they won't, because if you ever had a gelato, they're wonderful, and if you haven't had a gelato, you need to go try it.
But I mean, her stats are insane. The Eternal Warrior, Feel No Pain, 2 up, 3 of something crazy like that. She's a badass, but the toughness 3 is a Achilles heel.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's not a bad thing going up against it. I think you should have done fine against Eidolon had I ever actually gotten into combat with her. But against Eidolon against the basic sisters, he's just walking through them, obviously, because he's a badass anyway.
So, on that point, so you played 3 games with your sisters, right?
I played one big Zone Mortalis game.
So how did they actually perform? Like, models aside and converting them, like, how did the actual army perform for you? Like, did it go well, or?
I think they did. It was a different type of playing for me. You gotta realize that when I play Night Lords, I'm a very aggressive player, so I'm used to being up in people's face. I believe that I can't play that way with the sisters. I gotta be smarter, a little more tactical. So,
okay.
I think they did quite well, honestly. All in all, they held objectives very well because they are all troops, no matter from elites to the heavies. They're infantry.
Right.
So they hold objectives. So it's nice in that respect. So I actually scored quite a few points before. I was the last one to get wiped off the board. Because we played 3-on-3 on a 5x8 table. So we had 3,000 on each side. We played Blood Angels, Imperial Fist Sisters against Dark Mechanicum, Emperor's Children, and I think maybe it was 2. I think it was 2 Mechanicum lists actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. They held their own.
So out of those armies, which ones did they have the hardest time against?
I basically went head to head with the Emperor's Children.
Okay.
And I was Eidolon, like you said, in Zone Mortalis, it's very in your face.
Right.
So, and I didn't actually. I went with. Basically, I had no heavy units. I ran my Sisters of Silence, Oblivion Knights, with the named character who has her Raven Guard. I think they call them. I say it kind of blows me away that they named it that. And then I ran 2 Bolter units, and then I ran a Cyber Jekyll unit. So the Cyber Jackals got annihilated immediately after holding the objective first round because being able to move 12 inches with the beasts,
right,
really is amazing. And Infiltrate in Zone Mortalis with Sisters, because what you choose for your cadre is a huge game changer for a lot of armies because you can move within 12 inches. Right. Or right up to 12 inches where they're at, and you could be right on an objective immediately. So, because they can't see you. Oh. So, as far as Zone Mortalis, I think the Sisters are amazing. I want to play on a big game. We'll see what happens with that. And I'll know probably by June is when I plan to have them done.
Right on. Yeah, that Infiltrate thing, man, I'm fully aware of that. And I enjoy it thoroughly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you play Raven Guard, so you do that yourself. So, and it's kind of cool. It's a catch-22 with them. Like I said, the toughness 3, strength 3. If you get assault, because you can be assaulted first round, although you can't assault. Mm-hmm. You got to be cautious on that. Who are you going to be near?
So okay,
if you want to go against somebody who can survive.
Right, and so like when I infiltrate, like I don't. And I mean, it's different for sisters, apparently, obviously, because of their options. Yeah. But like, whenever I infiltrate, it's not about like how close can I get to you. It's about I'm going to use this to where I don't have to deploy and have you counter deploy to me. That's all I really use it for. And then where can I get to set up for a good firing lane for turn 2?
Yeah, and mind you, I was able to use it to my advantage in respect as anybody who plays Zone Mortalis understands that if you have a flamer, it becomes shredding.
Yep.
And my Cyber Jackals, I took 6 of them, so 2 of them had flamers, so I just put them on a hallway and just waited for people to come to the hallway. So, and you don't have to aim. Who cares with ballistic skill, too? So, it was, I mean, there's strategy behind it. It was a big Zone Mortalis game, and Zone Mortalis is quite a bit different than an open table.
For good reason.
So as far as that, I think sisters are a force to be reckoned with. I don't think they get enough compliments as they should. I think they're just as evil in their own right as a custode. So.
Well, that also means too that when you start playing them more frequently, then you're gonna do better. Because some people are gonna
and that's exactly.
Yeah,
and I mean, I did pretty good with them, and I was kind of surprised on how well I did with them. Just because of that reason, because they are squishy compared to a Night Lord army. Because the way I play my Night Lords, I'm running Terminators and all this other crap. They don't die very easy anyway, and I actually think I lasted longer with the sisters than I would have with my Night Lords.
Gotcha.
So
good.
This is pretty slick. But that's a hobby thing I've been working on. Is if anybody's building sisters in any large amount of force, you're going to realize you're going to have a lot of converting to do. You can mix and match the swords on how they hold them, how the hands are. You want the shoulder pads to match. Just FYI. If you got to be careful with that, because not all the shoulder pads actually match. So it's really cool. I'm really enjoying them. I kind of took a step back from my Ultramarines, and I was going to start Death Guard as kind of a side hobby, but this is going to take my focus. I think I'm really enjoying it, but it's taking more time than I anticipated.
Yeah, I can hear that. My Thousand Suns are still on the shelf, but that's only because I've got just a couple more units left. Because like whenever I'm afraid of the hobby ADD, so whenever I start a project, if I have a new one in the bank, like I'm gonna do that new project, but I got to finish the current one I've got, right? So that's kind of why I did all the hodgepodge units for the Raven Guard and then now for the Salamanders, because all I've got left to do is Corvus Corax, a Typhon, and 5 Outriders for my Raven Guard, and then that army is done as far as I'm concerned. Like I've got my flyers, my skimmers. Oh no, 2 land speeders. Sorry, but then I'll have all my vehicles, all my infantry, my Terminators. I've got everything that I want to do for that Legion. It's done. Put it in a box, set to go. That's 8,000 points of that Legion. We're done. Won't touch it again. I just remembered that I got 3 drop pods and 3 Deathstorm drop pods. But yeah, anyways, my point is like I'm trying to wrap up that Legion. My Salamanders, I've got 5 more Heavy Flamers, 10 Multi-Meltas, 5 different Sergeants, and I think, my Cases. And then once that's done, the Salamanders are done. I can put them away and not put them away, but just that Legion's done. I can put a cap on it. We can move on, right? That won't mean that I'm done ever adding to that Legion, but as far as like what I had envisioned for all the different lists that I made for that Legion, I'm done. And then the Thousand Suns can start. And then once the Thousand Suns are done, then I'll move on to my Knight household that I want to finish for Tyrannus, and then I'll move on to my Legio for my Titanicus Legion and finish out Graphonicus. So that's kind of where I'm progressional, because I just really, really, really personally hate having unpainted models, especially since I'm a commissioned painter. It's just kind of like, bleh. So.
And I get it, because it's like with Book 8 coming out on the horizon, I know it's a ways out. It's going to readdress Night Lord, so I'm thinking, well, crap, what else am I going to be building now? So
yeah,
I look forward to anybody who knows me. I love my Night Lords. I love the fluff behind them. I like the fan fiction behind them. I just enjoy the whole mentality of screw you all, we're going to stand on our own. And I really enjoy it. So I'm really involved with the Night Lords, and knowing Book 8's coming out with Vangelis, whatever the hell it's called, with the Dark Angel War is going to be amazing. And I'm looking forward to that. So I don't want to get totally involved with 2 other legions besides, and like, oh, well, it didn't leave them hanging.
So I'll tell you a dirty secret, Dave. Provided I finish my Legio before Angelus comes out, I might start a Dark Angels army.
Good. Dark Angels are badass.
They are.
The only reason I don't do them is because we do have quite a few Dark Angels players who are leaning into getting 30K more often.
So the only Dark Angels player that I'm aware of up here is Philip Hall, who runs the Glacial Geek YouTube channel, which if anybody has not checked out his channel, please do so, because it's really good stuff. But he plays Dark Angels, but beyond that, like, nobody around here has interest in doing Dark Angels for the Horus Heresy that I've met anyways. And I would really find that opportunistic to do some Dark Angel shenanigans, especially if they release rules for Luther. I might do a I might do a trader version of Dark Angels just because it'd be funny.
Well, yeah, and it's gonna be I this is where I'm gonna kind of chuckle a little bit. I'm gonna refer to what's going on in 40K right now. Okay. They just released Gilliman, and then they had what the hell's that Dark Angel called?
Cypher.
He was considered a traitor.
Oh yeah.
So so I'm thinking, are the Dark Angel Fallen the good guys and the Dark Angels?
Well, okay.
Not? So I don't think they have a freaking clue what's going on.
But Cypher was marked as a traitor by the loyalist Dark Angels, not the Imperium.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference in that, because Cypher would show up and fight for Chaos or fight for Imperium based on what was going on. Because his goal is to take that sword and put it in the Emperor's chest. And now Rabute Gulliman says, hey, bro, we're buds. I'm going to take you to Terra. So there's that. Who knows, really?
So it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm kind of wondering, it's become kind of a joke. I work with a kid who's a huge Dark Angel player and obsessed. And he's like, it's going to be funny when I find out my Legion's a bunch of traitors. So it's like, I hope it kind of goes that way because I think it would be hilarious. But no, Dark Angels with their ultra ammo, the Malefic ammunition where it's AP whatever.
Yeah. And then doing a bunch of jet bikes and stuff. I think it'd be cool.
Oh, that's what I'm about to say is that I have 3 players who don't know each other. All 3 of them are building jet bike lists. And awesome. I'm just laughing my ass off because I know all 3 of them. They don't know each other. And I'm like, you guys, and because that's the way the Dark Angels are. They're very fast in your face, bolters, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just, after going against Imperial Fists on hitting on 2s, it scares the hell out of me, Rob. I'm not going to lie to you. It's like so many bolters, like, more death. So, but it's very anti-Imperial, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
I played a game once against Sam Fisher down in Games Workshop in Tacoma. And we played a game once, and I ran a mechanized salamander list against his Dark Angels. And he had...
Hold on, I have to cut you off. Hold on. Meredith says hello. She puts her face thinking that she's in the camera, but I don't have the camera up. She's like, what the hell? So, hold on.
Jeez, Meredith, you just totally blockaded our episode.
I just talked. Here we go. Ready?
I'm ready.
Do the face.
Okay, do the face.
Okay, we're up.
Oh my God.
She's happy now.
That was almost terrifying, but hi, Meredith.
He says that was terrifying, but hi, Meredith. She's laughing her ass off.
So,
I'm sorry, everybody who's listening. My wife had to be involved. I'm sorry. It's become the game.
If you haven't noticed, both Dave and I are kind of smashed, so just bear with us. No, so Sam Fisher and I played a game at GW in Tacoma, and he brought his Dark Angels. I brought my Salamanders mechanized list, and I played a game against him, and I actually charged a unit of jet bikes. And it was funny because the first 2 turns they shot, they rolled their random AP and their AP5, right?
Yeah.
So then my Fire Drakes go to charge them, and they roll for Overwatch AP1.
That went badly, didn't it?
Yeah, I was like, oh! Well, I only took a wound out of it, but it was still cool to see them just be like, ineffective. Punch through your armor. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, what is this? Like, why? Yeah. No, so,
It's funny that you say that because I've actually, one of the battle reports, the kid I was talking to, that happened to him, and he was rolling high AP for all the shooting, and a guy charged him in Overwatch. He rolled AP1 and hit 5 guys.
Oh, wow.
And it killed like half the dudes, and they failed their morale check. It went bad. So it was just like I was laughing my butt off. I'm like, what just happened? And he's like, oh yeah, it was awesome. I'm like, well, it couldn't happen to a better opponent, but I didn't. It's like, holy crap.
That is badass.
But it's good stuff.
Well, so speaking about games played and stuff, I'll go over my my Raven Guard game because
Okay.
so there's been a lot of controversy, not a lot, and it's not controversy. I've been drinking. There's been discussion about the Assault Marines. There's been discussion about Assault Marines and their point limitation and whether they're worth it or not. And so I played a game against Tada and his Salamanders, and I brought Decapitation Strike. But since I got the new Assault Marines done, I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to try bringing the Assault Marines because I had a little idea. So my list, we played 3,000 points, and I brought Strike Captain Ulrich Mon. I brought a Praetor with a Paragon Blade, Lightning Claw, Digital Lasers, Iron Halo, and Jump Pack. Just so if I was fighting against Marines, I could change out weapons, right? And then Chaplain with Artificer Armor, Boarding Shield, Jump Pack, and Power Axe. 2 10-man Assault Marines squads with 2 Power Axes and a Sergeant with Raven Talons. A 9-man support squad with Plasma Guns and a Drop Pod. 3 Rapier Carriers with Graviton Cannons. 9 more Dathan, all with Combi Plasmas. 2 2-man squadrons of Javelins with multi-melters and the last cannons. I cannot get away from those units. I got to find something to change because I just love those speeders too much. 10 Dark Furies, and then a Leviathan with the Drill, Claw, Volkite, Phosphor inside of a drop pod, right? So when we played our game, he had Salamanders. He had a Mastodon that was packed full of like 10 Fire Drakes and Nomus Right Hand, 2 tactical squads with Power Fist, Artificer Armor, Melta Bombs. And then he had a Veteran squad inside of a Spartan. And then he had a 5-man attack bike squad with multi-meltas and a Fire Raptor with the upgraded missiles.
Yeah.
So when we played, I infiltrated the Graviton Cannon, so I had a beat on the Spartan because I wanted to just whole point that son of a bitch out, right? And then turn 1, my plan was to drop Ulrich Mon's unit next to Ruins because they all have communal line, and then run them into that Ruins so they got the 3-up cover, and then go to ground for a 2-up. And then the Leviathan dropped down. Both of those units dropped down next to the attack bikes because those are the fastest unit that he had in his army, and I know Salamanders are slow. So they just dumped their fire, combi weapons, melted guns, whatever, into the attack bikes and just wiped them off the board. They're gone, right? Bloop, done. There goes your mobility. We were playing Shatter Strike, so just keep that in mind as a wire. I was taking out fast units. So my idea was, well, I brought tactical squads with drop pods and a Power Fist Sergeant for, I think it was like, 180 points. And my assault squads were 225, so considerably more expensive. But I was thinking like, well, Ulrich Mon's on the board already. I can use a Stratovox to where within 18 inches of him, anybody who deep strikes doesn't scatter. So I can get my troops on the board, right? It's all a matter of how well I roll reserve rolls, which is kind of a betting match. So everybody that was a jump troop deep struck in by turn 3. But what was cool though, and what I like about the Assault Marines, at least for my Legion, was that I had a scoring unit that could move between 13 to 18 inches with their run moves a turn. And then if they were to charge somebody, they're strength 5 when they charge, basically +1 strength, right? So all my power actions were strength 6, and my Raven's Talons were strength 5 with rending and shred. Right?
Okay.
Every challenge the sergeants got into with his sergeants, they killed his sergeants, either from getting a rend or his sergeant rolling a 1 for armor saves. One of those sergeants actually charged the Mastodon, and on a rend and then rolling a 5-6 did 2 hull points to the Mastodon, right? And what was more entertaining for me, and I mean, the game ended up being a draw, but for me and my Legion, I liked having the jump troops because when they dropped, I wasn't like a tactical squad where once the drop pod landed, I was like, well, my effective range is moving within 12 inches of this pod, that's it. No, like these guys were like, I need you over there, 2 turns, they're 24 inches across the board.
Huh.
And I jumped them from and to dangerous terrain, and I only lost 1 Marine from the 2 squads from 4 rounds of movement because we went to turn 6. So I'm not saying that assault squads are awesome or bad. I'm just saying that I feel that with the point change that they did, that tactical squads and breacher squads and assault squads are now point equivalently based to benefit the Legion that would use them the most. Because if I was Ultramarines and bringing assault squads, that'd be kind of dumb. Like, you want to bring tactical squads for that? That way you can have the drop pod or your Rhino just pop a combat bolter and the rerolling ones to shoot, which is what a tactical squad's there to do. But then, like, if you're Imperial Fist, you want to bring Breachers because they get the +1 toughness if you bring Stone Gauntlet. Where assault squads, because I'm Raven Guard, get +1 strength when they charge. So it's like, it seems like they pointed them out just right to where it leans you to want to use them. And I feel like, for me, like, I'm going to start bringing assault squads as a staple over tactical squads because they felt like they could do more for me later in the game because of how fast they could move. And then having those power weapons buried in that weren't designated to a character meant they couldn't really get us well sniped out unless shot by veterans or snipers. So it gave me some versatility on what I could do. Like, I could threaten Terminators with them at that point, right? So, yeah, it went well. Like, the Assault Squad thing, I was really impressed with them. It could have been because I also brought Dark Furies too to support them, and they'd be my auto delete unit if I needed it. But
yeah,
I enjoyed the Assault Squads, man. It was a fluffy list. All things considered, the Graviton cannons, you could argue, were not fluffy, but I'm a full believer that, well, the thing
I know you love them, man. It's okay. It is.
Well, when you're talking about a Legion that has a hard time bringing anti-armor in, and combine that with the fact that it's a Legion that's known for guerrilla warfare, like, think about, and I hate to say it like this, so for all you military members out there, I'm sorry to say it like this, but like, look at like ISIS or Al Qaeda, like, they're guerrilla warfare fighters, right? No,
why would you bring them up?
Well, I'm just saying, like, that's what they are, right? So they set up roadways and stuff with like IEDs and shit, right?
Sorry, man. I just like.
Well,
I love special forces.
Oh, okay, then we'll go back.
Special forces. We're not going to give any glory to terrorists.
I'm not giving glory to terrorists. I'm just thinking. I'm thinking of guerrilla fighters, like rebel fighters and stuff. Like, look at like the Ukrainian rebel fighters, right? Or like the Jesus Christ, don't even go there. Like the South Korean rebel fighters that fought against North Koreans during the North Korea War, right? The Korean War. Okay, rebel fighters in general, people who do not have the high tech equipment that a lot of other people would use, that need to move and act very fast and reactively, right? They set up traps to create ambushes because their advantage is their opponents not knowing their numbers or equipment that they brought to that fight. That's the whole point of their logic of warfare. That's guerrilla warfare 101, right? So Raven Guard, being a Legion that prizes themselves in guerrilla warfare, and thus why they're a rival to Alpha Legion, you would see it feasibly so that they'd bring something like the rapier turrets or some form of artillery or something and set it up into a position to, once they were ready to strike, they would hit home, hit their target, and then bail out and get out of there, right? Like, that's their whole point. Like, that's guerrilla warfare 101. So although rapier turrets may not seem like they're fluffy, because like Raven Guard are all about the jump packs and lightning claws and all that kind of jazz, I could see why a guerrilla warfare Legion would bring something like that to set up an ambush point to where they could pin their opponent, go in, cut the head of the snake, and then bail out and go to the shadows.
Of course.
So
they have to play like that.
Mm-hmm. And that makes them so much more enjoyable for me. No, they wouldn't. If anybody's Al Qaeda in the Horus Heresy, it's definitely Night Lords.
No.
Really?
Not even close, buddy. They're like, who would they be? Since they're cannibals. Who's a good one?
Oh.
We got the Headhunters of South America.
Al Qaeda.
No, Al Qaeda do not eat their own people. That's sacrilege. We got the Headhunters, Samoans. They're like the Samoans.
Oh, yeah, great.
Because Samoans actually shrunk heads. See? There we are.
Man.
Night Lords are Samoans.
God, we're going to get so much hate mail over this shit. Like, we are starting so much shit over this. I didn't mean to go there. My point is guerrilla warfare tactics. Guerrilla warfare. That's my point. We're not going to go there. Guerrilla warfare, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, case in point. I like the list. I like Assault Marines. They fill the niche. Not because of point efficiency, but because of a scoring unit that can move that fast.
That's right.
So, okay.
They're in, they're out, they're over.
And I thought about a funny idea on that too. So, Recon Company, right? Another Rite of War.
Okay.
So, are you familiar with Recon Company at all? What it does?
Not a clue. Go for it.
Okay, Recon Company. Any units that scout or infiltrate gain shrouded for the first turn, and then anybody who is a heavy support comes in reserves. Okay. So you bring a Leviathan and a Dreadnought drop pod because the heavy support and reserves. Okay. And then you bring
your laughing thing has got to be amazing.
Huh?
So yeah, if you hear you laughing as you're saying this, so it's gonna have to be amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So there's that. So it's basically the same list. Okay. And then you bring your assault squad. In this list, I'd bring an assault squad, a breacher squad for my troops, my compulsory, and then I'd bring my Dark Furies. Okay. And then for my HQ, I would probably bring a Praetor with a jump pack to bring the Rite of War, and then I'd put 2 Apothecaries with jump packs in both those jump units. Okay, and that'd be it. Then my characters, I'd bring 2 Vigilators with jump packs, and attach them to both of those 2 jump units. Okay, so turn 1, both those jump units with Feel No Pain scout forward into ruins. And then turn 1, they have a 2-up cover save with Feel No Pain.
Okay. That's brutal.
Made jump troops all of a sudden really effective because that whole like turn 1 of you can't assault, right? Because of shooting. At least the turn 1, if you got second turn, you can take those hits. If you got turn 1, you can get close enough, you can try to get into assault, right? But the Vigilator gives you that scout ability where you can scout into cover and make sure you're okay. So if I'm fighting a bunch of Medusas or something, I'm like, oh yeah, great, strength 10 artillery. Okay, that's cool. 2-up cover. No, I'm gonna scout into ruins. No thanks. So, and then spam the rest of your points with just infantry units. So like Seekers, tactical support squads, heavy support squads that have to come in reserves, but that's fine. Because since they can infiltrate, they can outflank, so you can make that work. Veteran squads, name it, besides Terminators, and you just completely cover the board with infiltrating infantry, and you just surround them, and you just make sure they're all inside of some kind of cover. At the very worst case, you're going to get a 3-up cover save. So at least there's that. And you just, first turn, and then second turn, your assault troops that just had a 2-up cover, 5 Feel No Pain, can then jump forward on the second turn and then charge.
I want to see that in action.
I'm going to try it. And then you have scouts with Camille line. So first turn they have a 2-up cover save, and then every turn after that, as long as you park them on ruins, they're gonna have a 3-up cover save. So they just infiltrate around little 5-man scout squads all over the place trying to grab objectives, and everybody else just goes full aggro on your enemy. I'm not gonna say it's overpowered, but it's something that I want to try because it seems like a Raven Guard thing to do, right? We all come from the shadows. Hi, how's it going? Daga. Bye. See you later. So.
Damn.
Yeah, kind of thing.
Huh. It's gonna be nice.
I haven't tried the jump list. I want to, like Vanguard Assault, the whole like jump troops at Deep Strike, anywhere than 12 inches is firing snapshots on them, and I think they have like hit and run on their second turn, and then the other one, the Angel's Wrath, just anybody with jump infantry have hit and run. I kind of like that idea. That'd be kind of fun. I just don't know. You have to really spam a lot of jump troops to make that work.
Yeah, but it'd be a fun list because it's like you won't be running tanks and stuff. So
yeah, they limit you. Like anything you can take in that Rite of War has to be a flyer or a skimmer, and anybody that can take a Rhino's dedicated transport can take a Storm Eagle inside.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
It'd be different. It'd be different than what you normally see. That's kind of the whole point. I just want to mix it up. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I can't blame you. That's why that's why I'm kind of doing the sisters, because it's like I love large infantry based armies. So
yeah, and I mean, like for me, I don't know about you, Dave, but like I've been playing so many games at 2,500 points that I'm at the point now where I'm just like, hey man, you want to play like 2720, like 3150? You want to play something just weird? You know?
I run all my stuff at 3,000 points, so it's like we got the big list, and so the dynamics is completely different.
Touche. Well, you know, a friend of mine too asked me, he's like, out of all the Lord of Wars you can get for Raven Guard, why would you get a Typhon? And it's like, well, for one, if I was a guerrilla warfighter, I would have, if I had to bring a Lord of War, I'd bring the smallest one I could that I could hide somewhere, which a Typhon is. It's only 6 hull points, right? It's 1 hull point better than a Spartan. And that way I could hide him somewhere. But the other part is, too, is like Raven Guard do really well with really point efficient units. If anybody hasn't checked it out yet, check out the Pete Happens blog because he really goes over this in great detail. But out of all Lord of the Wars, the Typhon is the most point efficient. Like you can bring him in at a 2,500 point list, which is great for a strength 10 7-inch blast, ignore cover shot. Which in an army that has not a lot for AT shooting, that's awesome to bring that. So that was kind of my go-to Lord of War for them. Really, I don't see any other Lord of Wars that fit them well besides maybe bringing a knight because it's fluffy because they had that Forge World, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know,
I think you should do a night. Yeah, I'm just kidding. So, oh, that's gonna be.
it'll be fun.
My brain's. Yeah, it will.
It'll be fun.
It's funny. We're building all these different legions. We go back to our base. You got Raven Guard, Salamanders. I got my Night Lords.
I just like legions that just I don't know like having stock standard or legions that are like gun lines. Just kind of the idea of it bores me a bit. I like legions like, hey, we're salamanders, we're slow, but we want to get close to you. And Raven Guard, hey, we're really fast, we want to get close to you. Thousand Suns, hey, do what you got to do. You know, like, we'll just buff ourselves up. We'll find a way to adversely deal with this situation. You know, I like legions that make you have to be kind of creative in what you're doing.
That's exactly it. And it sounds like you got. I can't wait for you to come back down here and play.
I plan on it August, man.
It's gonna be nice.
It's gonna be fun. I won't be sober.
So I doubt it. You want to tell us a little bit about your little event thing that you had up there?
Oh yeah, Artis Trident. So
Yes.
we had our first game from the 3-day event, or 3 games day event, which is the Artis Trident. We talked about it before, but just to make it short and sweet, it's a tri-planetary cluster outside of Macragge to the western fringe, which is east of the Sol system. And it's basically a 3 planetary cluster that's used for dry dock operations. So for expeditionary fleets that are coming back to Sol, but don't want to make it all the way back to Terra or another resupply point, can show up, dry dock, resupply, turn around, go back out to the outer fringes. That's kind of the whole point of it. So each Games Day event is covering a planet from the 3 planetary cluster, and we're fighting for the planet. And then factions, whether traitor or loyalist, whoever wins that planet will gain a boon that carries over to the next event. So this event was on Navalos, which is a giant. It is quite literally a dry dock. It's a giant parking lot. It's just a place where ships can go to park and unload crew and do what they got to do for the other planets to support them. It did have a PDF force called the Navalos Spears, and it also was supplemented by seven contingents of Legio Cybernetica supplied by Ryza. Ryza is the nearest forge world from the western fringe of Macragge. And basically, the planet was separated by 4 quadrants, and those quadrants had their own dry docks, and there was an inner tunnel system that went between the different dry dock stations to where nobody could have to go on the surface of the planet because the planet was saturated with radiation, for one. It was a death world. And then it also had a high methane content in the atmosphere. So the planet itself is large enough to have its own equator and storm systems. So if there's a high pressure storm system that happened to come across the one of the continents on it, likely or not, because of the radiation and science, moving molecules would ignite the methane and cause a firestorm. Imagine a hurricane made of fire, right? So people didn't like being outside.
Yeah. Okay.
Anybody being out
burning to death.
Yeah, anything that could survive outside was basically power armor. Anything beneath that couldn't survive long enough because the radiation. If the fire didn't get you, the radiation did. Right. So we played our 3 games. I had to place in for rotating chair because we had one guy that couldn't attend due to emergency situations. We had 10 people show up. We played 3 rounds. All the missions came from the black books, and I actually pulled missions from Massacre and Extermination or Betrayal. So we played, the first round was Hammer Blow Assault, which was a representation of the traitors showing up, surprising the loyalists, dropping, and invading. The second mission was Fire Tide, which represented while we were fighting this assault, a fire hurricane hit. So everyone's like, shit, we're out in the open, right? And then the third mission, we played Deadly Ground, which was after the engagement, after the fire hurricane. At that point, surviving forces were just trying to find what was remaining of the infrastructure and fortify it, right? So we were playing Deadly Ground, which is basically you score based off of buildings and not objective markers, which I thought kind of created a new contrast to it. And you scored every round at the start of every turn. So whoever had second turn had a chance to kill whoever had first turn off the objectives, which was a building, not a marker. So it kind of balanced out.
Yeah.
So overall, it went really smooth. And we had a really good turnout too. We had no duplicates and legions either.
Nice. Mm-hmm. This always makes it nice for the community.
Yeah. For traders, we had Sons of Horus, Emperor's Children, Iron Warriors. Great. I totally did that, didn't I? I spaced it, didn't I? I did.
Yep. Welcome to my world. It's not as easy as it seems.
No,
when people are like, oh yeah.
No, it really doesn't make it that easy. World Eaters and oh my god, I can't be whoever's the 4th guy or 5th guy, I'm sorry. Loyalist. Loyalist, we had Raven Guard, myself. We had Imperial Fist. We had Custodes. We had Iron Hands. And we also had Mechanicum for the Loyalist.
Okay.
At the end of the event, ironically enough, we had a very, very slight victory for the Loyalists. We had 2 rounds of a draw and 1 round of a win, but it was a win by one game. So like all that matters.
That's really good. That's a good game day then, because it's just an all wanton slaughter and one took it over the other.
Yeah, some people it was kind of cool because I did the wooden spoon placing where I told everybody to keep track of their victory points on the missions, just so I could see who had the lowest score for that price that price placing. But ironically enough, like the average was 18. Like the average victory points that everybody scored, the average was 18. The highest was 24, and the lowest was 13.
Nice.
Yeah. So everybody, there'd be games where one person would get tabled near or less, but then the next game they did really freaking well. So nobody had a really bad game. All the way through, nobody had a really bad day of gaming. Everybody had that one game that they did really well at.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, it was.
That's good. Awesome, man. I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, it went really well. I mean, as far as the TO goes, I think I only had 2 rules questioned the entire event. I was actually able to TO and play, and I actually played my games and finished them. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so everything went smooth there. As far as prize support goes, Nate Havos with his Custodes had Best in Show, and then Ethan with his that was the 5th guy, Thousand Suns. We had Thousand Suns also show for traders.
There you go.
There we go. Ethan had.
How did he do?
He had the wooden spoon. He had the lowest victory points.
Huh.
Yeah.
And he played Thousand Suns.
He played Thousand Suns, and he brought 2 units of Sekhmet, and he had the lowest victory points.
So there you have it, folks. Another event. Thousand Suns not doing them awesome as people are worrying about.
Yeah. So stop the fear mongering, because he played against. If I remember right, he played against Custodes, Iron Hands, and then he played against me. And he did not score the highest victory points. I mean, he won. I think he won one of his games, but yeah, he had the lowest score. And then from the raffle, the Luke with his Emperor's Children. He got because we had 3 raffle prizes too, just like door entry, your entry fee was part of the raffle. And guys who placed in Best in Show and placed in Wooden Spoon were not part of the raffle. It was a separate prize support pool. Luke with his Emperor's Children won the Cataphracti on Sprue, Cataphracti Praetor on Sprue. And then R.J. Eaton with his Imperial Fist won the 10-man squad with Mark III armor. And then Joshua Neal with his Mechanicum won the Games Workshop Primus Medicae.
Nice.
Yep. So it was a good game.
Congratulations, you guys.
Yeah, and thank you for showing up. I told everybody this at the event, but again, it's all up to you guys. It's your attendance that makes a difference. You know?
Yeah, it's everything.
Dave and I can work our asses off making an event and try to make cool rules and stuff, but if nobody shows up, it doesn't mean for nothing. It just
that's exactly it.
You know, and as far as overall input after the event, I had no negative input. Everybody enjoyed themselves. It was very lax. Like I had rounds scheduled, but I told people like, hey man, like if we're at the end of the round and you're on turn 5, finish your turn. Like who cares? I'm not in a big hurry.
Yeah.
As long as we're out of here by 8:30, that's all I really care about, right? So just play your games, you know. And we only had one game out of the 3 rounds where I had to tell them, hey guys, like I'm sorry, but you got to do score. Because they were like at top of turn 4, and it was the second round, and we had the 3rd round coming up, and it was like, hey, like I hate to do it, but at this point, you got to call it, But
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also want to applaud everybody that showed up for busting their ass. I think we only had one army. We had 2 armies that were just primered. Everybody had at least a base coat on.
That's good.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was all good. So our next event is on August 4th. And the winner, because it was such a slim victory, the Loyalist won the overall event. We were able to hold Navalos. And the traders basically went, okay, well, we used a lot of men and a lot of munitions to attack that planet. And so we can't try that again because we might run out of shit. So they're moving on to the second planet, and I forgot the name because I don't have it pulled up in front of me. But they're moving on to the second planet, which is a giant munition store. It is the planet that has its own Forge World based inside of it. That's manned by Ryza, and it's the one that makes all the munitions for the vessels for planetary engagements. And it is a giant workhorse planet. So they're moving there now. To try to ascertain some assets. But instead of doing a frontal assault, since they saw that the Loyalists have obviously garrisoned very well against what was going to be a spearhead, now they're going to attempt a subterfuge and sabotage mission to try to disrupt the obviously heavily fortified munition storage planet and get inside and take the goods and get out. So
nice.
The benefit for the Loyalists for being able to hold Navalos is on the next game event, every turn they're able to re-roll 1 reserve roll. So
that's really good.
Yep. I mean, nothing crazy, but it's enough of a boon to where you want that Leviathan to drop pod to drop, and you rolled a 2. Well, guess what, bud? You get to re-roll it. Or you had your Fire Raptor you wanted to come in, you rolled a 1. Guess what? Re-roll it, bud. Only 1 per turn. Not 1 per unit, just 1 reroll per turn, but at least you got something to help you buff your reserve rolls.
That's really good. Yeah, it's like I got mine starting. I'm starting at Ties of the Corrupted. here pretty quick, and yeah, we'll go into that a little bit more after you talk about yours.
Nope, that's pretty much it. That's the end of the artist. So, guys, anybody in Alaska or from Seattle happens to be up here in August, or anywhere else in the world that's going to be in Alaska in early August, I do plan on having price support increased for this next event. There's going to be some third-party stuff going on, some of that action, and
That's really nice.
Yep, stuff to convert your plastic kits. So I just highly encourage anybody to attend. It's all about the attendance, and the more people we have show up, the better the prizes get, and the more fun we'll all have. So show up
and play. Show up to have fun. My gosh, it's competitive.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like having a quote unquote tournament day, I guess you could call it, but a 3-round games day, and only having 2 rules questions. I was pretty impressed by that.
Sorry, repeat that.
Well, I was just saying, like, as a TO, like, having a 3-round games day event and only having 2 rules questions throughout the day, like, I'm impressed by that.
Yeah, it is. It's just, my brain's melting.
No, I get it, dude. It's a holiday weekend and everyone's busy doing their stuff. So tell us about Tides of the Corrupted. What's going on with that?
Well, I had these big dreams of grandeur. I'm starting to stress myself out a little bit, I'll be honest with you. So I'm starting out as Tides of the Corrupted is, it's starting out at one planet, and it's going to go into a system. Sebreth is what I've called it. And it's called the Conquest of the Sebreth system. Do you mind if I read out a little bit of the fluff?
Go for it, man.
Okay. So here's story time, folks. And I wrote this all up. So the wording may be a little weird, but I speak weird normally, so hence my English isn't as amazing as most. So here it is. Tides of the Corrupted, Part 1, The Conquest of the Sebreth System. The death of a planet is not always felt amongst the rest of the galaxy. Sebreth was not noticed when its rich culture and wealth passed away into history. The reality of man's expansion into the unknown became clear for an expeditionary force surnamed the Fool's Gambit, as the fleet gathered from the people of Terra and the Mechanicum forges of Mars. Many understood the inside joke of the true situation. The first fleet to shoot literally for the edge of space through the killing fields of the unknown Xenos races. Sebreth was discovered unexpectedly and was a shining diamond amongst the sands of an entire ocean. Every diamond has a flaw, and Sebreth was a deadly one. A Xenos race that inhabited this jewel amongst the stars was his deadly adversary and refused to bow down to the new masters that had arrived from the darkness. The fleet decided that this was not worth passing up and began to colonize the moon named Darkside. The Mechanicum began to build its forges of their great machines and technology. Darkside was a wonderful base camp for them, so rich in ore and every natural resource they could have imagined. As the decades passed, the fleet began to focus on the invasion of Sebreth. Strange things began to happen on the edge of darkness. Mankind met a force unbending as the enemy below and unflinching as time and cold as the dark expanse. It was the brutal reality of isolation and no boundaries of mortality. It was the hunger of the fleet that began to show the true nature of its desire. The weapons never before imagined in all its awesome glory of destructive power began to fall into hands of those who feared nothing of the consequences of such immense power. As in proven history of man's selfish greed and desires, only the waves of violence seem to be the grand finale of such things. Centuries before the Great Crusade was even imagined, powers of the empire of mankind could have mustered in all its destructive path was nothing to the unbridled, fierce power unleashed upon Sebreth. The pulse was first felt all around the globe, like a force that causes the hairs to stand on end. Like fire, the tears of the invasion began in the skies, wept bitterly as pods began to fall to the ground with the temperament of war drums marching towards death. The dark armor-clad forces began to spill out as ants devouring a carcass. The invasion was met with as much violence as it arrived. The enemy was no stranger to violence. This was not the first time they had been forced to face life or death, and they do not fear the empty hatred nor the destruction it will cause. And that's where it ends. It basically goes, now as your forces step foot on this ground, seeking these weapons and resources, you'll experience this for yourself. And that's the beginning of the campaign.
Nice.
So it's basically on the March Invitational. I hence you dealt with the Xenos races, which I mockingly did the Sasquatches. But it's the brutal planet, and basically the goal of the traitors and loyalists are to gain this weapon that's on dark side. It's the Hell Table is what I'll call it. Is the one that causes this pulse of death. It's a strength 10 hit, and whoever decides to play in this event, you hope that your side gets this weapon because it's going to be used in the next event by your side.
It's a quite literal arms race.
Oh, it is, and it's a Mechanicum weapon that has been lost to history because the Mechanicum have wiped themselves out at this point, and the humans are no longer there on this, at least this planet solar system. So that being said, that they lost. So you're going to be going up against not only a Xenos race, but you're also going to be trying to gain the weapons that were left behind by humanity. And in that being said, it's a badass weapon. And of course the Emperor will use it because it's not a Xenos weapon. It's just something that was created to... It's a planet destroyer that happened to accidentally kill themselves doing it. So
almost like every other superpower we know. Yeah. Like every other superpower we know that mankind's ever got a hold of.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. And that's why I phrase things the way I do. It's a bloody war. And what's going to my goal for this campaign is to, when it ends in December, figure out who's going to own this solar system, because it's on the edge of wherever, because it doesn't matter where it's at. It's just they want this weapon, and it's going to be a fight gaining control over this weapon. So let's say the loyalists grab a hold of it and they hold it all the way through the year. It's going to be wicked come December for them.
Okay.
So, and they're going to be in every battle and every campaign during this campaign, as far as the event days, they're going to have a piece that you can add to this weapon. It's going to make it much more brutal or help you fight against it. So it's going to be interesting. I hope, at least in my book, it's going to be interesting. But some people who just show up to one or two just to play, like, whatever. So right. I get it.
That sounds awesome, though. Like, you're building up to a grand finale that's going to be quite honestly destructive.
Oh, yeah. And I'm hoping, I mean, this is my first experiment to this, and if things continue on, Heresy continues to grow, I'm hoping to build campaigns off of this, and we'll see what happens. The Dragonflight event in August, I'm hoping at some point to make it one of the bigger Heresy events in the world, so we'll see what happens with that. I doubt highly it'll happen, but you can dream big.
Hey, man, aim high, and if your target's small, then you might get it.
Oh, hell yeah. And that's exactly it. I'm really looking forward. I'm like kind of a little nervous, and I'm not going to lie. If you guys listen to this, the game isn't selling as well as I'd hoped. Because the Invitational sold out. And so this game hasn't even halfway sold out yet. Yeah, and I'm finding out a lot of the guys are really busy that weekend, and I'm like, well, this may be just a bad timing deal. So.
Well, the thing is too is like we're getting into summer, and that's going to be hard to get more attendance, and I'll even put that in there too. Like for me, especially in Alaska with summer coming up and stuff, like I am a fisherman and I fish a lot, and I love a lot of fillets in my freezer. So like even with the podcast, like we say that we're gonna stay at a bi-monthly, and I'll be honest, guys, like from May to August, We're gonna try
It's gonna be hard.
Well, we're gonna try really hard to be bi-monthly, but I mean, if there's one episode that comes out in a month or 3 episodes that come out in a month, that's just kind of the time we have for it. Because I know, Dave, we're both gonna have an issue with attendance in our event because it's summer and nobody wants to stay inside painting when it's nice out. You got your hot rods to work on. I'm gonna go and kill a bunch of swimming stuff in the river. So it's just one of those things, man. It's. I mean, if I have a high attendance at Artis too, 10 or more, then I'm gonna be shocked, to be honest with you. Because I mean, August for us, early August is silver season for coho salmon, and then towards middle to end of August, that's hunting season. So I'll be shocked if we have a good attendance for Artis too.
Well, I'm hoping. It's like I expect the April one. It's a long month. I know a lot of people are traveling. June will probably be a fairly well attendance. Dragonflight is at the end of August, right before Labor Day weekend.
Right.
So that's going to be a struggle. So I'm thinking, because I know you're thinking about coming down. A couple others are as well, from Canada and other parts of the country. So I mean, we'll have some attendance, but it's people have lives.
Yeah. In the simplest way of putting it, yeah, people have lives. Yeah, that's a fact.
And that's about it too. And we don't want to, I'm not going to harp on anybody. Oh my God, why don't you come to my events? That's not like that. It's a game.
Yep.
And like you said, you got fishing. My buddies are trying to get me into finishing my hot rod truck, so I need to actually. My wife has been actually asking me to work on that too. So my hobbying will kind of go to a different hobby, but I'm not leaving the 30K scene by any means. But it's not going to be as focused.
Yep. That's kind of where I'm at too. It's like I'm gonna paint and play where I can, but my main goal for 3 months is to stock up the freezer for the winter.
Oh yeah, it's a good source. I mean, salmon's amazing, dude. Like you got the silvers and you got kings and coho.
Man,
It's a humpy year for me down here. And I know if anybody doesn't know anything about salmon, humpies are the craft salmon. They're amazing smoked.
So, I'm not even gonna comment on that. I'm not even gonna comment.
I know, but we don't in the Seattle area. We don't get the variety of salmon you do up there. I'm a little jealous. Well, I might actually be up your way at next autumn.
Well, then, autumn is hard for any kind of salmon. I mean, you might get late silvers.
I'll be on a cruise. It don't matter.
Oh, okay, well, jerk. Well, I was gonna say like, I got a fishing trip coming up in 3 weeks. I'm gonna go on my stepdad's bayliner. We're gonna go out for halibut and lingcod. And
nice.
Yeah, we're gonna go out for that down in Whittier, and then we're planning on 2 weeks after that we're gonna take the Wheelers out. We're gonna go out to this property which is on Lake Louise, which is about 160 miles north where I'm at, and they've got their own lake where their cabin's at, and basically pulling 20 to 28-inch trout all day long. Just go out and troll. So just gonna, I got fishing. I just gotta get fishing. I'm a big seafood.
I love fishing. I've got, I think, just as much in poles as I do in Warhammer, so I get it.
Yep, same here, man. Abu Garcia all the way.
What?
Yep, Abu Garcia. Well, okay, I like Abu Garcia reels, but I prefer Shakespeare rods more, personally.
What?
Yep.
Lima glass.
Nope.
I've got Lima glass rods and G Loomis.
Well, okay.
Yeah, you're talking.
Okay, but I'll put it like this. So if I'm gonna spend, sorry guys, this is a 30K podcast, but we're starting to get into fishing discussion. If I'm gonna spend,
wait, hold on. Before you spend, anybody who's listening to this at this point, understand you can use this as an argument to your wife or significant other about why Warhammer is actually cheaper than fishing, drinking, and drugs. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is 30K related in a different way.
Okay. Okay. So if I'm gonna spend $200 or more on a rod and reel setup, okay, it's not gonna be on a bail flip or on a bait caster. Well, bait caster, yes, but for a different purpose. If it's a bank,
I hate bait caster.
If it's a bank purposed rod, I will not spend more than $200 for the setup. And now if I'm going to go on a boat, absolutely, I'll spend $500 for a rod and reel setup, no problem. But if it's for bank, I will never go over $200. Like 180, I'm sitting there going, is it really worth it? Because of the fact that up here at least, we don't have the river access like everybody else does down there, where it's all like nice and paved and wonderful and great. And look, there's fish everywhere. If it's like that up here, it's combat fishing. You're shoulder to shoulder, right? So you're always packing the shit out, and you're no matter how hard you try, you're gonna knock your rod against a tree, drag it in the dirt. You're gonna be hopping over rocks, crossing rivers and stuff. I'm not gonna spend that kind of money on a rod and reel that I know I'm gonna beat the shit up within 2 years. So I'll do a Shakespeare rod and an Abu Garcia reel. Be around $160. Call it a day. Perfect. I got a salmon rod. That's me.
Yeah. So my Lama glass is 11-foot pole. It cost me about $350. And my rod, it's high end. I think it costs $120. So I mean, but I like the flip bill. I cannot do a bait caster to save my life.
Yeah.
So right there, I'm looking at almost 300 or what, a little over $400 in one set. Now I've got three. I've got a 9-footer, 11-footer, and a 6-footer. But that's like, mind you, like you said, combat fishing around here. It's like, for one, I'm fortunately taller than most, but my pole's longer too, so I cheat.
Yeah, but I
could shoot that thing. When I go down to Columbia, man. I'm shitting there freaking halfway across the river, and people are like, "What the fuck do you got?" Excuse my language, people. I didn't mean to say that, because with longer poles, you're able to flick it out there a lot further.
Right, but like so for us up here, like the only rivers that are really that wide enough to get to worry about is like the Kasilov and the Kenai and the Deshka. But like all the other main rivers that I fish out of, you don't have to worry about casting out, 1.5 football fields out to get, right? But your problem is you need good dexterity, and you need something that's maneuverable to where you can do like alley-oop casts and over-under casts to get into certain holes, because the way the creek drifted out. Because we also got all the runoff from the snow melt off, which also can carve out banks and stuff and create new holes, right? So like if I go king fishing, dude, straight up like 8-footer, 9-footer, but it's gonna be a thick base pole. Honestly, most of the time for a king pole, I just go to Walmart, because I don't care. I'm gonna go get my two or three kings for the year, and that's as far as it goes, right? But like my silvers and stuff, dude. Oh yeah, like I'll use like an 8 or 9-footer, but nothing more than that. Jesus God, like that's gonna be a pain in the ass. Like typically, I found that most of our rivers around here, like a 7-footer is good enough. But that's fine. That's plenty to do what you got to do, because most of what you're doing is either you're dealing with spoons or you're dealing with yarn. So.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and we do jigs.
Yeah. See, totally different kind of fishing environment, but anyways, okay. So we did our debate. Base in point. If you guys' wives are ever against you buying resin, just like be like, I was talking to these guys on this 30K podcast, and they fish, and my God, a single rod and reel is the same amount as what I spent on my army, and they destroy that in like 2 summers. This lasts forever.
Exactly.
God, we just whatever.
That's funny.
Whatever. Well, you know what? The thing is, though, if anybody likes fishing, they'll be like, yeah, man, right on Dave, or right on Rob, or you guys are both dumb.
I can see all that.
Well, I guess with that, is there anything else we want to cover on as far as like 30K goes? How did Space Marine fish? I feel like they just throw a frag grenade in the river and just whatever takes it out. Like there they go.
That would be amazing. I get so much trouble for that sort of thing. Yeah, right. Fishing. Now you got me going a completely different hobby.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is there anything else we want to cover as far as Heresy is concerned?
As far as Heresy, we know we're seeing a lot of new releases from Forge World. We've seen the jet bikes for the custodes. We've seen more Mechanicum goodies.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for my sister's transports. I'm looking forward to seeing. I know there are a couple other players in our area who have been buying these models, so I'm looking forward to seeing them. April 29th is the beginning of the Tides of Corruption at Games and Gizmos. I'm going to say that Heroic Knights MLB games, and on Monday nights have their Warhammer 30K, 40K nights. Both have strong communities. Please show up if you're interested. One, Heroic Nights is in Issaquah, MLB Games in Lake Stevens. And then Games and Gizmos on Tuesday nights, which is hosting the Tides of the Corrupted on the 28th. It's in Kirkland.
Nice.
Support the community, guys. I know lives are busy and summer is coming on. If you're looking into getting into the community, feel free to message Rob or I. Even if we don't live in your area and you're halfway across the world, we'll help you out.
Yeah.
We're totally cool with that, and we're realistic. So.
Yeah, and to pony up on that, I'll plug in Tier 1 Cards and Games in Anchorage, Alaska. MJ Cards and Comics over here at Wasilla, Alaska. They have the Dragon's Den in Homer and the Comic Shop in Fairbanks. Pretty active Heresy communities. If you want to get a Heresy game in the state of Alaska, look us up on Facebook, AKW-Horus Heresy. MJ's also just acquired a Zone Mortalis board, the legit Forge World one. So if you want to get some Zone Mortalis in on a pickup game, they've got the table for you.
Yeah, and on Zone Mortalis notes, if you want a feel of the Horus Heresy and not sure on the aesthetics of it, as far as gameplay, Zone Mortalis is a good way to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just learning how to play it myself. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it thoroughly.
It's awesome. It's a totally different way of playing the game. It's fast. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm incorporating Zone Mortalis in all my events from March on. So if you see the events pop up, I always have Zone Mortalis tables, and I may actually do June's event all Zone Mortalis because the store is a lot smaller at MLB games. So,
well, in Zone Mortalis, like even with Shadow War coming out, which I want to get started on that terrain because it looks awesome, but people talk about how fast Shadow War is to play or Kill Team.
Yeah,
I have to argue that Zone Mortalis, the 1250 list, is just as fast. I haven't had a game of Zone Mortalis at 1250 last more than 50 minutes for me. So take that as you will, but it's fast and it's very enjoyable, especially if you start using the atmospheric special rules, which are just entertaining as shit.
That's exactly it. Man, there's something else I wanted to say, but I can't for the life of me remember.
Well, I know I'm sexy, Dave, but you don't have to say it on the radio. You don't have to go there with it.
We're both bald and sexy. So there's that's the way it is.
You don't.
I do want to say, since we're at the end of the show, and this is somewhat 30K related. The I Have Horse podcast on the Ultramarines deal they just posted.
Yeah.
Have you listened to that yet?
Yeah.
So they're talking about now. I'm going to completely ignore the rest of the show because they talked about Sasquatches, and then they have an Australian one called the Yowie.
Yep.
Have you looked any of that up?
Not the Yowie, no, I haven't. I haven't gotten that far with it.
Okay, so this is some freaky crap that they're talking about. So I started looking up all this stuff. I'm like, am I completely oblivious to all this stuff? And so my wife and I are talking. I'm like, it's hard to say. It's like I kind of want to believe in the Sasquatch. I don't know if I do or not. Honestly, I get on how people feel about that, but I come from a very country background, and I've seen a lot of weird things. And Sasquatch has never been the first thing that would pop into my mind. But it's like, okay, and I'm just gonna say, Sasquatches are creepy as hell if you really start listening to what these guys are talking about.
Yeah. No, Sasquatch is like, yeah. No, I'm not discrediting that at all.
And so when I say I've seen some creepy stuff, when I was give you an example, I was raised on around cattle and all that. I've had cougars take down deer within 100 yards of me as a child. So I've seen stuff, and I hear the screams of a cougar or coyotes. Mind you, I'm terrified of coyotes because of their chip. Now, they don't scare me up an individual, but whenever they start yipping and whatnot, my hair stands on end. And it's funny because it's like I'm not afraid of them if I see them, just they're yipping. But it's just it cracks me up. So as far as 30K group, I have horse guys who are listening. Your Sasquatch talk creeped me out, and I want to say thank you. I'm like, I don't want to go hiking right now. Like start listening to their stories, and I'm like, if any of this is even slightly true, I ain't a big enough gun. It's just like holy crap. But
yeah,
oh well. I'm sure there is some hick that if they did exist, they would be dead by now. So, like,
all I can
somebody
say,
would shot one.
all I can say, man, is when you get a chance, look up on YouTube, "Man survives grizzly bear attack."
Was that the guy in Montana?
With his face completely gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. And what's funny is like up here we come across them. I wouldn't say like everybody comes across them all the time, but like my neighborhood, for example, my neighborhood's in a black bear watch zone. So like we can't have our trash cans out because we're right on the base of the mountain. So that when they all come out of hibernation, like right freaking now, they all start coming down to feed.
Yeah.
But brown bears and stuff, man, yeah, like it was no thing to go fishing. You'd be on a boat or whatever, and you come across one that's 20 feet away from you. It's like, oh, and then you start making noise. You start slamming pans or making a lot of noise, and they run off. But yeah, like dude, the woods are creepy. Like the woods can get you.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna talk a little bit about creepy stuff in the woods since Sasquatch talk popped up. There are 3 things in my life that have scared the hell out of me. One is a guy posting a picture of him as deer kill at night, and he had a camera doing an automatic picture, and it wasn't until he got home that he realized there's a cougar right behind him.
Yep.
And stuff, and now it's actually a local guy. I don't know him personally, but it is a friend of a friend, and stuff. And he showed me actual pictures. I'm like, that would creep the hell out of me.
Yep.
And then some buddies who had shot a brown bear, hung it to bleed out and all that. If you've ever seen a bear hang feet from the back feet down, it honest to God looks like a human hanging there.
Yep.
It's kind of creepy and stuff. So that's worse. But also, we were out riding and I had a gold eagle fly over me, and that doesn't sound scary. Do you realize how big they are? And a horse starts shimmering and bucks your ass off down a cliff. So it's like, it is what it is. So creepy stuff does exist, but
I think if I had to notate the 3 creepiest things I've seen, one of them would be a whale. Great. Hunchback. I was fishing for halibut in the Ketchimack Bay, and I was sitting there just fishing for halibut, and I look underneath the boat, and my line starts going away from my reel, like not spooling out, just going away from me, right? And I was like, what the? And I look down, and like if anyone's afraid of deep water, like a whale will freak you out even more. It like confirms all your phobias, right? Because I look down, you don't hear anything, but I look down and I see this huge mass just moving under the boat, and I was like, what the? And I saw the white fins, like the accents of the fins, and I was like, holy shit, that's a whale. And I cut my line, right? And there goes the whale. It just takes off, and they started feeding like probably about 120 yards away from us. They started feeding, man. And when that bull came up and slapped the top of the water to stun the krill, dude, it was like a sonic boom, just boom, and like you just heard it. It was like the worst belly flop you ever heard, right? So that made me feel like a very insignificant creature seeing that.
I've been told that. Yeah.
The second one was when I was up at North Star Island in Prudhoe Bay, and I was delivering 2 containers off a flatbed on my tractor, and I untied them, and I was coming back on the driver's side of the truck, and I was walking alongside the trailer, and up by the hood of the truck, a polar bear just came right around the corner, and I was like, whoa! And like you have that moment, like, oh shit! Like that's a polar bear. Like of all the bears you can come across in the wild, the polar bear is the worst one because unlike other bears who are just going to attack you because they're intimidated, a polar bear will hunt you and eat you. That's a totally different kind of bear. And I went, huh? Like, oh no. And the polar bear was like, huh? And I was like, shit. And I crawled underneath my tractor flatbed and came out the passenger side. And I started walking towards my truck, and I didn't see him come around or come behind me. And I dove in my passenger door and shut the doors and locked them. And he started pacing around my truck. He was wanting for me to come out. I had to call security, and security came out and scared him away. Like, no shit. Like, he was like, oh, hey, food, right on. Like, I was like, oh, shit.
Oh, man.
The third one was sea lions. Sea lions was pretty scary. Same thing, but I wasn't on a boat. I was on a dock, and there was some sea lions hunting some salmon, and you don't realize, you see them on TV, and they don't seem that big, but they're fucking huge, and they move fast in the water. Yeah. They are very fast, and they're very quiet. And I had one come up underneath me. I was standing at a dock, and one came up underneath me from under the dock, and he stuck his head out of the water and did that thing, like right out of the water. and I jumped like 7 feet in the air and hightailed it back. I was like, holy shit, like, that was a sea lion, dude. Came out of nowhere, just out of the water.
Like, screw
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, big deep water, man. That's like my biggest phobia, probably. Like, big deep water, which is weird because I fish on it, but like getting in it, ugh, no thanks. I'd rather.
See, I'm terrified of drowning. It's like, I've never been any further out than a mile. And going with Puget Sound is deep, but I can see an island, so I have a chance of making it.
Well, like, for me, yeah, like, for me, like, I've been like 30 miles out in an inlet. Like, that's no big deal. Like, the distance thing doesn't bother me. It's that if I'm in the water and my feet are underneath it, that's what freaks me out. You know, if I'm on a boat, I'm cool, man. It's all good. Boat goes under, I goes in the water. Well, I'm freaking out. I'm panicking. Like, I'm not a fan of that shit. I'm not a big fan. Like, I'd rather swim in a river than I swim in the lake. Like, if anyone's like, oh, hey, we're at this big ass lake, you want to go swimming? It's like, no, I'll drink on the beach. I'm good. Nope, I'll pass.
No, it's funny because, see, I don't mind swimming in lakes, but you get me out on a river. Mind you, I've caught sturgeon out of the Snohomish River and stuff, and they're huge, and they're harmless. I mean, they're big sucker fish, basically, but, you know, the spines on the back of them suckers, after knowing they're in the river, no way in hell you get me to swim in that.
Yeah.
You know, same with the Columbia. Nope, those are big. Those both rivers have ocean access. I know we don't have bull sharks or anything like that to worry about, but you never know.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a big body of water, like, man.
What don't we know about in our river? I mean, watch River Monsters. That's
right?
all I gotta say. Hell no. But I don't know. It's
yeah. Either way, yeah. Scary stuff. God, we just keep drifting away from 30K. I guess that means we're just probably done. We should probably wrap it up.
Yeah, I think we should too. But anyway, as far as that, you know, that just shows, guys, we have lives outside of the hobby. And apologize for our ramblings, but that's the way we are. You'll deal with it.
Yeah, and you know, we're gonna do the best we can to stay bi-monthly. But you know, it's summer. It's gonna be sunny out. I'm gonna have 21 hours of daylight here within the next 4 weeks. So
nice.
Yeah, staying inside is not gonna be the MO. So
I will be posting some bet wraps from the Tides of Corruption on 30K of Heresy 30K Vision Zone. I'll also be doing it on our Facebook pages, Northwest 30K Boxcast, Northwest 30K Legions United. I also do want to say 2 of my buddies are starting up their own podcast. It's Men Who Play with Dollies.
Nice.
It's not just 30K stuff. They play Saga, some other games that I'm not even have a clue on how they work out, but the models are amazing. Greg Berrien, or some of you guys may know him as a Cranky Old Gamer. Nice. It's him and Richard Johnson that are doing it together. It's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. Something a little different, and may actually add to my creativity because I'm sometimes brain dead.
I'll have to be honest. We won't go into discussion on it, but I am looking at AOS for something different.
I can't blame you. The models are awesome.
Yep.
Remember, 30K is about the hobby for us. We love the games, but we love the models.
Yep.
You know, I will touch on AOS just briefly. I have a large Warriors of Chaos army. Just saying.
Oh, no.
I have to actually work on it. But I do have I love cavalry. So I have tons of knights and all that jazz.
I didn't know that about
nice.
You. We're learning so many new things.
We do, right? It's the secrets we keep. It's all heresy. All heresy, I tell you.
How dare you? Well, with that, guys, check out guys who play. Is it guys who play with dollies or men who play with dollies?
I keep talking and give me 2 seconds to find out.
Oh God. Okay.
I know, right? I would say guys who play with dollies.
I think it's guys who play with dollies. Check them out.
So I just like their page. So
Greg, and Richard are really great guys.
Yep.
Solid, good people, and I'm looking forward to their episodes. I'm definitely gonna check them out and listen, because every time I've spoken with those guys, it's always been a fun conversation. I can only imagine what they're gonna be recording.
And they're a huge part of my community down here. So Greg does a lot of his blogging for our events down here.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually gotten us a lot of notoriety for Northwest 30K in general, and even our podcast.
Yep.
Because of his connections. And Richard has access to laser cutting stuff, so he makes me a lot of my. He's been really supportive in that. He makes a lot of the different markers and trophies and stuff. So both guys, they don't know how long they're going to do it for, but they're going to give it a shot. And because it is more than 30K, I encourage people to look in other games as well. So that's a good local guy in the Seattle area. Local guys in the Seattle areas.
Absolutely.
But it's all good.
Well, with that,
any question? I'm going to say one more thing. Please email us at northwest30k@gmail.com if you have any questions, comments, lists. I have gotten a couple of your guys' messages. It's mainly about events, but any concepts, anything you want to hear us talk about above and beyond what we normally do, feel free to get a hold of us. I always got to throw that out there.
And I will say that more discussion on the Yowie I'm all about, because now I'm intrigued about researching on it. So
yeah, it's just so you guys know, I'm a little creeped out by this. I'm an avid when I was growing up, not so much now, but I was an avid outdoorsman. Didn't even have a TV. I was always out on horseback and doing some crazy stuff. Never seen anything or of like. I always thought the Sasquatch was more of a joke than anything else. I'm intrigued. So
apparently not.
I always have a feeling that just because one or two people see something, it's kind of a haha whatever. When you've got entire communities saying they're seeing some weird stuff, something's up. Whether it's a Sasquatch or not, need to figure it out.
Agreed.
It's all good.
Well,
all right.
With that, until next time. God, man, we're terrible at this. We should almost have like a cue.
Nah, that's why we're loved.
That's true. That's why everybody equally hates us. Wah wah. Right. Well,
how many people do we got listening now?
Oh, we average about 500 downloads 500 to 700 downloads a month.
I want to thank you all in advance. We're actually at the end of our show, so it's post-advance. But thank you all for hanging in there and listening to us.
Yeah, we appreciate the support. It's why we do what we do. If y'all like hearing us ramble, we'll keep rambling.
It's no big deal. All right, guys. With that being said, I'm out of here. Have a good night. Dave signing out.
And y'all take care. I'm going to go drink.